Hi and welcome back to the channel. Okay, today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Basically the record that I'm going to be talking about I don't have here, but what I wanted to discuss is kind of junk shop, charity shop finds, junkyard finds, that kind of thing. Basically I think something that's probably afflicted all of us here who love music and records, tapes, whatever, is that the eternal search for the elusive mint or near mint original pressing of something extremely rare, desirable and collectible. And I've had a good few good finds over the years. Ones that spring to mind, I got a copy of Frank Zappa Freak Out, his first album, a US original, for £1 in a just in the pound bin in a record shop. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I found Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon solid blue triangle copy for less than £100. I can't honestly remember exactly what I paid. I remember finding a test pressing of Linton Kwesi Johnson's Bass Culture, the superb reggae album on Island. I remember finding a test pressing of that for £2 in absolute mint condition. And there've been various awesome super finds along the way. Now, what I want to talk about today is I would say without doubt my favourite, the most impressive find that I've come across. And whilst I found it, I never bought it or owned it, but it's an interesting little story. So I'll show you this here. This will give it away. Well, you've seen the thumbnail, so you'll know what it's about. So this is my own copy of the Beatles White Album, as we tend to call it, but it's just the Beatles. And this is a UK original. You can see it's got the top opening. It's all laminated. It's got the number stamped on. It's got all the inners and inserts, the black inner sleeves, the photos, the poster, etc, etc, etc. It's a very nice copy. But at number 381,688, it's not hugely collectible. I mean, this is I would say near mint, so it's still, I don't know what this might be worth now. I ought to give it a look up on Discogs just to find out. But it's a beautiful copy. Well, that's my copy, and that's the copy I had. I've had this for a long time anyway. So certainly I had this when this story takes place. So if we rewind back to, I've got a few notes I've got to check here. So I think if we go back to 2014, 2015, I used to live next door but one to a couple who ran a sort of a house clearance junkyard kind of shop, junk shop type business. And I often used to sort of go in there and rummage through and see what I could find. And they often had some records, nothing very special usually, but I'd rummage through there and pick it up. Anyway, so one day I'm in there looking through these records, and I mean, my heart almost skipped a beat because, and I'll insert. I did take several photos, so I'm going to insert these throughout this story. Basically what I found was Beatles White Album, and the number on it, everything else was correct. It was an original pressing, top opening, black inners, blah, 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 blah. But the number was 0000046. It was a stereo copy. And particularly interesting, it was on the Parlophone label. It was P.PCS 7067 and P.PCS 7068, which was the first batch made for export, and they were printed on the Parlophone label rather than the Apple label. But really, the thing that absolutely jumped out at me was the number 46. Now, I've heard all sorts of tales. I don't know if anyone can verify this, but one of the stories I've heard is that the first 50 went to the Beatles. The Beatles at that time, including George Martin. So George Martin got 10, George Harrison got 10, John Lennon got 10, Ringo Starr got 10, and Paul McCartney got 10. Who got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know, but there's all sorts of. There's more stories about that than whatever. Anyway, nevertheless, number 46 was. I mean, it was the earliest copy I'd even heard of anyone owning, let alone having it actually seen. Anyway. Pat, whose shop it was, didn't want to sell it to me, but obviously I pointed it out to her, and yeah, she didn't want to sell it to me. Fair enough. I couldn't have afforded what it was really realistically worth, but it sat there for probably a couple of years, in her safe space, not out in the yard, and a good couple of years later than that, I'd actually moved town. And I had a phone call from Joanna, her daughter, and who's now my girlfriend, incidentally. And Joe said, "Look, Mum and Dad want to move on that record. Basically, would I help her sort of clean it up and find someone suitable to buy it?" And I was delighted to do so. So yeah, I went and picked it up, and again, you'll see pictures here. I gave it a good clean. The cover was by far the worst thing, because it was just the ring where the lamination had sort of just been worn through on a few spaces, and being a white album cover, it picked up the dirt, and I just cleaned it up, sensitively cleaned it up as carefully as I could. I didn't damage anything. I just took dirt off. I didn't attempt to patch holes in the laminate or anything of the sort, and gave the records many a clean, and I did play them all the way through, and I would say they probably played VG+. There were a few visible marks. You can probably see a couple in these photos here, and if I put this little video in, I haven't put the sound on because YouTube would just block it, as I've put Beatles. Well, anyway, we all know that YouTube would block it, so I haven't put the sound on. You just have to imagine this. But there was actually very, very little noise. It was a great sounding copy, but as I say, an export copy, which made it rare enough, and number 46, which made it just rare as hen's teeth. And yeah, we made several inquiries, phone calls. I spoke to all sorts of people, dealers I knew, and in the end we put it in for auction, and we contacted a company called Special Auction Services, I think, who were in Aldermaston, which I think is in Berkshire. Maybe it's in Hampshire, Berkshire-Hampshire borders. Yeah, we took it along there, and they put it up for sale, and I think it sold for $2,700. And this was a good few years ago now, so I've no doubt it would well, with the vinyl sort of the way prices are going now, I wouldn't be surprised if it got double that now. But anyway, there we go. So just a little story to illustrate that actually. Do keep your eyes open. Do look round the charity shop record bins and house clearance places, junkyard record bins, all those sorts of things. Because, not only do some worthwhile records come up, but some absolute bloody gems. I mean, this is by far the most valuable record that I've ever laid eyes upon, laid hands upon, had the privilege to clean up and play on my turntable. It was an absolute privilege to have it, even though for such a short time, and the money was very, 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 very helpful to my girlfriend's parents. And anyway, I will end on that note, and I hope you enjoyed this little tale, and I will look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye now. Bye.